If you're a musician, you probably asked yourself this question before a trip. Will they let me bring my instrument on board? It's a fair question. Many have either experienced that uncertainty or seen stories online that make flying with an instrument seem unpredictable. As a professional violinist, I've asked myself that same question before countless flights. As an airline pilot, I also see airline operations from the other side of the boarding door. Those two careers have given me a unique perspective on what happens before passengers even take their seats. Today, I'd like to share 5 things every musician should know before flying with an instrument. My goal isn't to tell you which airline you should fly, it's to help you understand how the US regulations work, how airline policies fit into those US regulations, and what practical steps can improve your chances of having a smooth trip. Many musicians are surprised to learn that small musical instruments are specifically addressed under US regulations. The applicable regulation is 14 CFR 251.3. Most discussions about this regulation focus on one word, the word shall. I actually think there are 2 words worth paying attention to, shall and if. In federal regulations, the word shall is generally used to express a mandatory requirement rather than a recommendation. The regulation states, each covered carrier shall permit a passenger to carry a violin, guitar, or other small musical instrument in the aircraft cabin. But the sentence doesn't end there. It continues with an important qualifier. If the instrument can be stowed safely in a suitable baggage compartment in the aircraft cabin or under a passenger seat, and there is a space for such stowage at the time the passenger boards the aircraft. Those conditions are every bit as important as the word shall. The regulation creates meaningful protections for musicians while recognizing the operational realities of commercial aviation. Understanding what the regulation says is the first step. The next step is understanding what it doesn't say. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is, federal law says I can always bring my violin on board for free. Not exactly. The regulation says that the qualifying small musical instrument may be carried into the cabin without an additional fee beyond whatever the airline normally charges for comparable carry-on baggage. That means your instrument is generally treated like any other carry-on item. The regulation protects musicians from being charged an extra fee simply because they are traveling with a musical instrument. It does not replace your airline's normal baggage rules. Those rules still depend on the ticket you've purchased. Before booking any flight, I recommend reading 2 things. First, your airline's carry-on baggage policy. Second, its musical instrument policy. Together, they'll tell you what your fare includes and how your instrument fits within those rules. Once you understand how the regulation and your airline's policy work together, you're ready to make one of the most important decisions of your trip. Which fare should I buy? In today's US market, you'll generally encounter 3 different types of economy fares. These aren't simply different prices, they're different travel products designed for different kinds of travelers. Basic economy is designed to be the lowest priced option. Depending on the airline, it may come with restrictions on carry-on baggage, boarding position, seat selection, ticket changes, or refunds. If you're traveling with a musical instrument, it's worth understanding those restrictions before booking. A lower ticket price may not always provide the travel experience you're looking for. On many US airlines, standard economy generally includes both a carry-on and a personal item. For many musicians traveling with a violin or viola, this often provides a more straightforward travel experience. Depending on the airline, it may also place you in an earlier boarding group than basic economy. Low-cost and ultra-low-cost carriers generally build their business model around offering a lower base fare while allowing passengers to choose and pay only for the services they want. That often means carry-on baggage, seat assignments, and boarding options are purchased separately. That doesn't necessarily make these airlines a poor choice, it simply means it's especially important to understand exactly what's included in your fare before comparing prices. Sometimes the lowest advertised fare isn't actually the least expensive option once you've added the services that matter to you. When you're shopping for flights, don't compare only the airfare. Compare the travel experience that fare provides. Ask yourself, does this fare include a carry-on? What boarding group will I receive? Can I purchase earlier boarding if I chose? And remember, your violin usually isn't competing with another violin for overhead bin space. It's competing with roller bags, which leads us to the next question. How do you improve your chances of finding overhead bin space? One of the most overlooked parts of traveling with a musical instrument is your boarding position. Earlier boarding doesn't guarantee overhead bin space, nothing can, but it can significantly increase your chances of finding available overhead bin space before it fills up. There are several ways to achieve an earlier boarding group. Some airlines include it with premium cabins. Others include it with certain fare families. Many allow passengers to purchase priority boarding during the booking process. Frequent flyers may receive earlier boarding through elite status, while others received it as a benefit of an airline-branded credit card. I'm certainly not suggesting everybody should sign up for a credit card, but if you already fly one airline regularly, or you're considering one because you travel with your instrument frequently, it may be worth understanding the benefits available through that airline's loyalty program or credit card. For musicians who travel several times a year with valuable instruments, the opportunity to board earlier can provide meaningful peace of mind. No matter how you achieve an earlier boarding group, though, there is one final piece of the puzzle that has nothing to do with your ticket. It's about people. Perhaps the most valuable advice I can offer has nothing to do with regulations. It's about people. Every airline employee wants a safe, smooth departure, and sometimes that job can be very challenging. Instead of approaching the gate expecting an argument, ask for advice. Something as simple as, "Hey, I'm traveling with a fragile violin today. Is there anything you'd recommend to give me the best chance of bringing it on board?" That one sentence completely changes the conversation and puts the airline employee on your side. People often ask me whether being an airline pilot makes traveling with my violin easier. Honestly, it doesn't. When I'm traveling to perform, I'm simply another passenger. The same regulations apply, the same airline policies apply, the same boarding process applies. That's why I prepare exactly the same way I recommend to everybody else. I understand the regulations, I choose my ticket carefully, I think about my boarding position, and I arrive prepared. Every year, thousands of musicians successfully travel with their instruments. Most trips are completely uneventful, if you remember these 5 things. Know your regulations. Understand what the regulation doesn't say. Choose your economy fare carefully. Improve your boarding position and make the airline employees your teammates. You'll give yourself the best possible chance of having a smooth journey. And remember, the goal isn't to win an argument at the gate. The goal is never to need one. If you have questions or a travel story of your own, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. It might even inspire a future video. Thank you so much for watching. Safe travels.